Terrain Tamer advises that all brake work should be carried out by a qualified mechanic. The Terrain Tamer rear brake disc conversion kit comes complete with all the required hardware. The job only requires the usual tools that all workshops have available. There is no drilling or machining required. However, Terrain Tamer advises that all brake work should be performed by a qualified mechanic. All the components have been manufactured from high quality materials to the highest standard. Before we released this conversion, we had the system rigorously tested to ensure full compliance with Australian design rule requirements. The results of the test proved that when loaded at the GVM, the vehicle stopping distance decreased by an average of 20 metres. In addition, the required pedal pressure decreased from 526 Newton metres down to 225 Newton metres, or in the old language, 387 foot-pounds down to 188 foot-pounds. Drain the diff oil. While that's draining, clamp the brake hose. Remove the wheel and brake drum using tapped holes with extracting bolts if the drum is rusted on. Remove the old brake shoe assembly and handbrake cable. Disconnect the brake pipe from the wheel cylinder. Undo the retaining bolts and discard the cylinder. Remove the ABS sensor carefully and support it safely. Undo the 4 axle flange mounting nuts and remove the axle, being careful to support it so as to prevent damage to the inner seal. Knock out the 4 bolts from the housing and remove the O-ring seal. De-stress the tension on the tone wheel retaining collar. That's a polite way of saying use a chisel to semi-split the collar to loosen it up or heat it up to be able to remove the tone wheel and circlip safely. Press the tone wheel off the axle without damage. Now remove the circlip. Remove the old retainer and spacer, making sure to note how the spacer was fitted. Remove the wheel bearing by de-stressing the retainer, allowing the bearing housing and backplate to be removed. Press the new bearing into the hub. Remove the handbrake assembly from the backing plate, noting how it is assembled. Fit the new backing plate onto the hub and press in 4 new longer studs. Fit the axle seal and grease if necessary. Next, press the axle into the hub and refit the retainer, spacer and circlip. Place the tone ring on the correct way with the retainer and press into position. Refit the axle back into the housing with the O-ring. Before placing the washers and nuts onto the new flange studs, place the caliper bracket and the brake hose bracket onto the studs, ensuring they are on the correct side of the vehicle. They are marked left and right. There is an extra bolt locating the brake hose bracket. Do not tighten the nuts on the flange until the extra bolt has been fitted. Recheck all of the bolts.
That's it.
Before refitting the ABS sensor, make sure the area is clean and do not over tighten the bolts. Refit the handbrake assembly, which can be a fiddling job, and the cable. Clean the rotor mounting flange to avoid brake problems. Mount the new caliper and hose to the mounting bracket. Using the shim supplied, centralise the caliper on the mounting bracket and finally tighten the cradle mounting bolts. Apply anti-squeal compound on the back plate of the disc pads and fit in position. Some prefer to fit the pad wear indicator on the inside, as this pad may wear quicker inside and in some instances it is easier to view. Fit the flexible hoses, remove any clamps, bleed the brakes and check all fittings. Refill the differential and check the brake master cylinder for correct level. Refit the wheels, that'll be handy. Once the hoist is fully down, be sure to recheck the wheel nuts. Conduct the road test to bed in the disc pads. Now it's got to be time for a break.